Rapid Reconciler, which is a tool that reconciles perpetual and in transit and receiving that voucher inventory. And this is actually very, very cool if you do any sort of transfers between warehouses and transfer orders or that type of stuff. It captures your one-sided entries. It's just really cool. It's surprising how much it'll capture. It's neat. Rapid Approval is an application of quickly processing workflow approval requests in Salesforce. If you ever use Salesforce, if you approve things, you got to do them one at a time, and it's painful. So we developed an app that will go out there and make that go away. It's very cool. G Shield is a line of security products that we're continuing to expand. Currently, we have a couple products within the G Shield, JDE Password Reset and JDE Two-Factor Authentication. So your users can actually take care of their own password resets. It doesn't have to go through IT in the middle of the night when someone needs it. And also, we didn't want to forget to talk about Genome. It's our newest product. It will detect and analyze and automate the process of converting customizations into orchestrations. Very cool product, very cool. It's I know everyone knows about Orchestrator being the next big thing, and it really is. So, it helps you take what you've already developed and turn it into an orchestration so you don't have to retrofit it next time. And here's what some of our clients are saying. I want to take a moment to read some of that. Be pretty good. Okay, and now I'd like to introduce, with further ado, Tom Gabriel, who's going to be doing our presentation and demo today.
All right, thanks, Danny. You can give me the screen.
You can. Sure can.
All right, stop your sharing, and then I will get on here.
There we go.
Thank you, my friend.
Well,
so just make sure that just give me the thumbs up that you see my screen. Yes, no, maybe.
Not yet. So you're starting sharing screen. There it is. You're there.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. First and foremost, I hope everybody is safe and doing well and staying out of trouble. So as Dan said, my name is Tom Gabriel. I'm a senior solution consultant here at GSI. And what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about, what Oracle is doing with JD Edwards and how they're enhancing it and how those enhancements affect you as an organization, you as an individual, and the importance of you understanding these things, understanding how they're coming out, and understanding what you can do with them. And as you can see right now, JD Edwards Enterprise 1, we're currently at update 5 for applications, okay? So even though 9.2 came out, on December of the 18th, 2018, there have been 5 enhancements to that, and it's going to be the product of record until at least December 2031. And what's important about that is it's because Oracle is under this continuous innovation model where they're making enhancements, they're doing fixes, they're doing all these things in smaller chunks, and they're delivering all of these to you so that you can continually evolve and continually adapt to your business and continually innovate. So it's important for you to understand that simply because you're on apps 9.2.4, 9.2.5, and because you're on tools 9.2.5.1, that doesn't mean that you're following the process that Oracle is recommending. You need to understand that code currency does not mean you're in a continuous innovation mindset. That mindset means that they are delivering stuff and you are adopting those things. So Oracle occasionally is delivering new functionality, fixes, enhancements, etc. They're doing this on a regular basis. They may be one-offs, they may be cumulative, but you as an organization, it's your responsibility to look at these and as a group understand how can you leverage them, not only singularly, but how can you mix and match and combine these enhancements to really get the most out of JD Edwards. Because as Dan alluded to earlier and on other webinars, when he and I started 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we wish we had some of this capability from back in the day. So what we need to understand is this. JD Edwards, they give you periodically what's called an ESU, an electronic software update. An ESU simply fixes a problem on a report or an application. It's a bug fix, okay? Maybe your approval routes and purchasing aren't working right because there's a minor bug. They'll develop an ESU to fix that. That's different than what's called an ASU, an application software update. Maybe that same purchasing process, they enhanced it and they made it better, and therefore they extended the application and gave you an ASU for that. Now, when we do all those things, naturally, if you're an organization that's global and you have subsidiaries up in Canada, maybe those people in Canada are using the French language in the software. So now they need to also take the language update so that any of those enhancements, you can see them in French as well as in English. Now, the important thing is, what about a maintenance pack? A maintenance pack says, hey, let me take all of these fixes and enhancements and things like that. Let me bundle them all together into one big thing and let you take a maintenance pack. But the most important one is a tools release. The tools release is changing the underlying system foundation, the system code of JD Edwards, and allowing you as users to do low code, no code, on the glass kind of quote unquote development and configuration of the software. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about today the fact that these user-defined objects, or UDOs, these are the things that are the underlying, guts of JD Edwards, but Oracle is letting you manipulate them so that not only can you get a more rapid time to value in your organization, but your JD Edwards software is going to end up costing you less because more people can personalize and configure the way they need to do things versus having customizations. And when we talk today about these queries and watch lists and how they affect credit collection, we're going to show you how you can do certain things where in the past you might have had to have IT write a report or IT to develop a custom application to do that. Now you're able to do it yourself with these UDOs. It's providing you scalability as your organization matures, and it utilizes technology that people are familiar with. So user-defined objects, you have to evaluate them, understand what they can do, and understand how you can combine them, manipulate them, incorporate them, not only with existing applications, but amongst themselves. So UDOs create this personal experience. And you can see that there's a lot of them, any number of them. Today, for argument's sake, we're going to be talking about the query manager, and we're going to be talking about Watchlist, okay? And we're going to show you how within the inherent application, these can help you change things. So it's important when we talk credit and collection, and again, please don't start yelling and screaming at me. This is a high-level look at what it does, okay? This is for the quote-unquote non-technical person to get a flavor as to what credit and collections looks at and how it functions within JD Edwards. We all start with a customer, right? Tom is a customer. Tom lives in a certain demographic area. Tom's going to be assigned a credit limit. He's going to have Dan as his collection manager, a bunch of other parameters that are going to be set up on Tom's address record, i.e. customer master record. Now, Tom's going to go out and he's going to start placing orders. He's going to start ordering things through sales orders. He might have direct ship items. He might have regular orders. He might have EDI orders. He might have orders that are related to different types of product classes or whatever. At the same time, I'm going to make a payment. And when I pay for those invoices and things like that, that payment might create chargebacks, it might create a deduction, it might create some type of other workflow event. And all of this is happening and manipulating and changing the data that's on Tom's customer ledger table. Okay, so all these little individual pieces of information, these transactions that are on Tom's customer ledger table at the end of any given period, nightly, whatever your organization deems appropriate, you're going to then run processes where the system says, let me take all this information, let me refresh it, let me update some history and statistics so that then I could create the credit and collection work files that most people use when they do credit and collections. Now, this process has been around in JD Edwards for years, easily 20 years. Granted, we've made slight enhancements and changes to it, but the process has been the same over and over and over. What's important to understand is if you look at how to get there, right? And at the top of the screen around that green box, that is the menu path to get to credit and collections, right? I go into financials, go into AR, do daily processing, then I have credit and collections. And within credit and collections, I only have a handful of things I can do. Those things are, I can refresh the table, that credit analyst refresh and statistics history update. I can then turn around and inquire doing account balance inquiry or statistic history, inquiry. Maybe I need to update credit and I need to do credit granting and management, or maybe I need to report out to, Experian or Credidel or some other places. But basically, that's it. And when I do this, again, to summarize, the system is taking information from the customer, processing cash receipts, doing sales order, manipulating the customer ledger table. And when I run those refresh jobs, I'm creating these other tables with data for me to look at. Now, what's important to realize is your customer ledger is individual transactions. Each one of those transactions has additional fields that might have some other unique identifier associated with it. It might have come from the customer master and it's part of the transaction record now in the customer ledger table. And when I go and refresh these things, what ends up happening? Well, the credit analysis refresh, the statistics history update, what they do is they summarize that transactional data. And you end up losing some of those unique characteristics. So now when you look at Tom as a customer, you simply know that Tom has X dollars open over these buckets of time, maybe for a given company, but yet you know nothing more about that. That's all you know. So what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to peel that back and look at some other germane things on an individual transaction basis. So when you look at this summary table, right, this 03B15 table, you'll notice when you look at that basically it's summarized information. It's summarized amounts, it's summarized days into aging buckets, it's the number of open credits, not necessarily the individual credits. And there's a credit manager assigned to the record, and there's a collection manager assigned to the address book record. But basically, that's what it looks like. When you turn around and you look at the statistics table, the 3B16, you'll notice that you have the same kind of thing, right? You have these aging buckets, and these aging buckets are driven by what? They're driven either by the constants for each company, or they're driven by how you set the processing options in the refresh job. So, Tom may see things, where it's -30 to 0 to 30 to 60, whereas Dan just looks at things 0 to 30 to 60 to 90. So you have to understand it's summary data. When you look at statistics, naturally statistics are things like days sales outstanding, DSO, or, what's your highest balance that you've ever had on your account. Again, summary level information, points in time, that's it. So now let's look at the inquiry screen. This is your account balance inquiry screen. And when you look at the screen, the way it's set up right now, you'll notice in the middle that I see two records for Hilton, 4242. I see one record for company 0 and one record for company 200. That's because this is showing me not only overall summary across all companies for this customer, it's also showing me by company. But if I look at this, the balances don't agree, right? It says an open amount of $1.8 million, but then for company 200, it's $1.2 million. Well, each one of these inquiry account balance screens is driven by a particular program. And when you look at that particular program and you look at that particular screen, you'll notice that you'll have a grid format. And if you look at the example on your screen, I set one up and it's called Tom. And when I look at that grid format, I have it set up where my sequencing is simply going to show me my amount past due, then the number of days open for each payment item, and then by company. So that's the sequencing. Well, if I wanted to, I can turn around and I can change that. And now I can say, when I go to account balance inquiry, I'm looking at Tom 4242, but now I'm looking across all the companies. And how do I do that? I simply do that by going into my sequencing now and changing that. Again, some of you may know this already, some of you may not, but again, depending upon what you want to see, and depending upon how you use your UDOs, user-defined objects, that's what that column grid sequencing is. It's a UDO. So set bunches of them up so you can see things different ways, okay? Granted, we're still seeing all of the data, but you're able now to see things in a different way. Same thing holds true when you look at your account statistical summary. You'll see here that here's my 4242 again. You can see that it has multiple companies, and you can see that, it's driven by or sequenced by company. And again, it's a particular application. Now, for those of you that don't know, we're looking at the F03B16 table. Well, we're running an application called P03B16. When we looked at the account balance table, the F03B15, it was an application called P, Program 03B15. Very consistent in JD Edwards. So once you get a flavor for this, you'll know exactly what you're talking about. And last but not least, you had your parent-child balance thing, okay? So that again is the 0315 table. So P03B15-1, because it's another application. So when we talk about queries, we're going to be able to look at the summarized data, but then we're going to be able to narrow it down, to skinny it down, to see things in a different light, the way we want to see them. When we talk about watch lists is a way for us to have a query over these tables to say that if certain things happen, let me be notified so that I can go ahead and act. So when I talk and when we walk through this thing today, we're going to be using the customer ledger table. We're going to be using that credit and cash management table. We're going to be using the statistical table. We're going to go to a landing page where a UX1 role, was delivered, and, there's a page that was created for that role to show you different things that you can do. And I'm going to walk you through an example or examples where I might want to be able to see particular past due balances for different types of transaction sets that relate for a given customer. So with that, give me a second, and Dan, if you don't see my screen or continue to see my screen, then you just let me know.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Now, the other thing I want to let you know The other thing I want to point out to you, and I'm going to try to move this thing out of the way so it doesn't bother me. Okay. I am on release 9251 of tools. Okay. So when you see my screen, just know that this is 9251 tools of JD Edwards. And what you're going to notice right now is I am landing on a, if you look where up in the right-hand corner where it says Tom with a big dot, this is a page I created for myself. You all have the ability to do this. You all have the capability with the software to do this, assuming you have one view reporting, okay? And if you have one view reporting, you people can create these pages with the things that you want to see. So I'm landing on this page, and basically it's set up where I'm seeing my top 10 customers and my average day late by customer. And it's graphical, easier for me to see what I need to see. All right. If I come back up here in my breadcrumbs, you'll see my breadcrumbs, and you'll see I launched into credit and collection before. And when I click on it, this is exactly what you saw in my PowerPoint. This is the navigation to the menu structure of what I want to do for credit and collection. So here's my refresh and statistical refresh. Here's the applications we're going to get into. Here's launching to some other areas, and here's purging data. So you can see that, there's a multitude of different ways to get there. When I hover over my account balance inquiry, it tells me the application. If I look at my credit analysis refresh, it tells me the application and what I'm using. The other thing I can do is I can even create favorites. So Tom, I created my favorite. And if you look, one of them is my account balance inquiry. So I'm going to launch that. And this is going to bring me into the refreshed credit and collection detail that I had before. And when I say find, it's going to bring up all the data. It's going to bring it up in the agent categories and things of that nature. Notice that I created a different grid for myself just to make it easier, okay? And what I did for the grid is I simply said I only want to see and display certain columns in a certain order, right? Basically, I took the default and just moved them around. But more importantly, under data sequencing, notice that my data sequencing is showing it by amount past due, number of open items, and company. That's what I showed you before on the PowerPoint, right? About how when it's listing for certain of these customers, you may not see all the companies together. I have another sequencing that I can show you later where I can group things together. Notice now, here I am with 4244, the summary record of 17 million. Notice down below, I have this button that says customer ledger. It acts like a row exit. So when I click on this, I'm literally now going to the customer ledger inquiry tab. See, it opens up another tab right here, preloads the record I was on. Now it's giving me all the detail behind what I looked at before, okay? Now, notice what I did right here, right? I have this highlighted column because part of the information that comes across into your customer ledger inquiry is what type of sales order was this, right? So part of that $17 million is made up of a bunch of different types of sales orders that, were driven out of order entry. So we're going to come back and we're going to visit this in a minute, okay? If I go back to this tab, account balance inquiry, notice now at the bottom, I have another button that says periodic statistics, right? And if I click on that, Notice now that it's going to open up a tab and it's going to show me for that customer those periodic statistics that we need to see. And again, summary information, nothing more than that, buckets of detail that I can't necessarily understand what else is going on. But within statistics, you see you have your DSO outstanding, and it shows you at a point in time, by month, what DSO there is. So periodic statistics, I'm going to close that. I'm going to go back to my account balance inquiry, and I'm going to show you these two category codes here. You see category code 9 and category code 10. These represent a customer class, that's number 9, and a customer group, that's number 10. So, my customer class may consist of customers that are considered original equipment manufacturers or VARs, or maybe just plain old consumers. And then when I talk about my customer group, I'm going to have things like, is this customer group, are they interested in just, electronics, mechanical, consumer goods, capital equipment? What type of product are they purchasing? Okay.
Just so you know, it's refreshing really slow, just so you know. It's refreshing.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Then I will go slow. Okay. All right. So here I am in account balance inquiry. All records. If I come up here and I say, wait a minute, I only want to see activity for consumer goods. I click on that and notice how my data changes. Now I'm only seeing that inquiry, those records for those people that are part of consumer goods. The same would hold true, right? If I were to turn around and I would select just mechanical consumers, right? So if I were to select that, notice now I only see mechanical. So what are these doing, right? I just set up these two queries, one for mechanical, which simply said my category code 9 equals the value to say consumer, and my category code 10 equals the value to say mechanical. That's all it's doing. The same thing holds true when I looked at consumer goods. Basically, I didn't need category code 9. I simply needed to say, show me anything for category code 10 that was consumer goods. So again, I'm able to narrow these things down. So if I look at mechanical again, right? I can see when I inquire that consumer or customer 4242. You can see how by company, it's not in order, right? It's company 200, then company 1, then company 50. Again, why? Simply because in my grid, when I'm looking at my sequencing in the grid, I'm saying I only want to see things by what's past due, how long it's been past due within a company. That's what I want my sequencing to be. Now, if I look at 4242, I highlight the row, and then I select customer ledger inquiry, right, which is open over here already. But if I were to select customer ledger inquiry, launches customer ledger inquiry, preloads 4242 like we all know about. Now notice, out of that balance is a bunch of detail across multiple different orders that I talked about before, right? Well, what happens if I look at these order types and I say to myself, you know what? I only want to see orders that relate. And again, I just want to show you the different type of orders that could be out here driven by sales order. And again, your organization could be different, right? What happens if I only want to see orders that were transportation related orders? Well, what I could do then, a minute, I only want to see transportation orders. And when I do that, it's going to go down. And now for this customer, it's going to show me just transportation orders. Well, that's great. But if I notice, maybe the due dates are all over the place, right? If I go and I look at everything, and this will take a second, but it should be done. If I look at all my due dates could be all over the place. And notice that some open amounts are larger than others. I can turn around and I can still change my grid to now say, wait a minute, I want to see everything in due date relative order by open amount. And now you can see that, yes, I'm looking at transportation orders, but just in a due date type of order. Well, what happens if I look at all orders, right? All transportation orders. So now I call it up. Here's all my transportation orders. If I say, show me everything, notice I'm going to get a bazillion, not a bazillion, I'll get 100 and something, right? 100 and whatever, 93. But now if I look at this, my open amounts, because I have this time due date sequenced, it's sequenced by the open amount too, but I have 193. Well, I want to say, wait a minute, I don't care about something that's only past due for $400. Let me see all my transportation orders now that are over 25,000. So now that 193 got whittled down to hopefully about 43. And again, there's other fields that I can sort on. There's other fields I can add to my query to make it worth my while. And then the nice part about this is, if you noticed, my document number is highlighted, which means now I can actually come in here and I can click on a document number and actually then go launch into my application to actually look at that item. So you can see how I can start at a consolidated level, right? I can then drill into a customer. I can then, for that customer, look for certain things, or I can clear out the customer and create a query to say, wait, show me everything across all of it. So I can set up multiple queries, and I can set up multiple ways that I can look at this information. So I reset all these back for a simple reason. I'll tell you that in a minute. The other thing we want to talk about is watch lists. So I just got through going through showing you that for transportation orders over 25,000, right? Let me go back in there. For transportation orders over 25,000, I showed you that there was a grand total of 43 records, right? If memory serves me right. If I go up to my watch list now, right, I can create a watch list from this query that I can then use going forward. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. So right now, I want to clear out, I want to exit out of all of this stuff, because what I want to show you now is that landing page I was on earlier. I want to show you how now on that landing page, I had one of my reports or one of my dashboards said top 10 customers by open amount, right? Well, if I look at that, I'm going to see that when it opens, the listing of the customers, 1001, 333, 3007, 226. If I were to look again at my account balance inquiry, you're going to see that that list does not correspond to the customer numbers that are listed on this screen: 4244, 4247, 10313. They're not the same. Well, the reason they're not the same is because just like going into an application, just like manipulating that application, when I'm in this report, if you will, right? You'll notice up here in the left-hand side, this little box says open the menu. When I open the menu, it says you're looking at customer ledger inquiry, but what query are you using? Well, I'm using a query that was defined as something else. If I say, let me see all my customers and companies, now when it comes back, notice I'm going to have the list of customers that I saw before: 4244, 4247, 10313, right? The other thing I can do, and this is great, this is new, this wasn't around a couple of tools releases ago. When I'm now in here looking at this query, I can turn around and hit this query filter, and on the fly, it's going to show me the fact that I can turn around and here's the query that I'm running. But what do I want to do? I want to grab additional filters. Do I want to grab it from the form level, or do I want to grab it from the grid level? Well, guess what? Remember that transportation order thing we talked about? If I scroll down and I find that field that says document type, right? And give me a minute to find it right here. If I grab it, notice it plops it in. What do you want to do? Well, I said I wanted the transportation orders, and those were S4, correct? So now I could type in S4. I can say OK. And what's going to happen? Now I'm seeing just my transportation orders and the detail for those, right? So now you can see how important queries are when you're looking at that consolidated information and you're trying to narrow it down and see other things. You can create this report, this dashboard, create any number of other queries, and actually just select the queries you want. And when you select the query you want, you can fine tune it even more on the fly. So, last but not least, remember I said I created the watch list for you? And that watch list was over those transportation orders over 25,000. Well, here I am. I'm just sitting around on another screen doing whatever. I come in, I refresh it. Look at this, transportation orders over 25,000. Now notice it's not an error because I set my threshold to be 50. So if it got to 50 or more, then it'd be an error. But here I am, I click on it. What's going to happen? It's going to launch me back to customer ledger inquiry. It's going to launch me back to that query. And like anything else, JD Edwards, I can do whatever I need to do. You know, I can do different forms. I can do different grids. I can do different queries. So utilizing all these things together is what's important, okay? Don't look at it and say, I have an application, that's all I can do. No, you have UDOs that you can slice and dice and do a bunch of other things too, all right? So with that, Danny, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to toss it back to you.
All right.
To finish up, okay?
Yeah.
And we'll let you know when you're good to go.
All right. How about now?
And not yet. Can you see me now? Not yet.
Wow, looks like it's sharing. All right. I don't know why it's. Come on, I'm smarter than this. I'm telling you.
All right.
Try it again. I'll share this.
You started. There you go, Dan. You're good now. But you're on Teams. So you got to get off of Teams and onto your PowerPoint.
Right. Okay.
There you go. You're good to go.
First of all, great information, Tom. And there's some questions that I want to bring up one at the end too. Someone's asked. So, but yeah. So I've got a couple calls to action here. I know that a lot of you have heard and played around with Orchestrator or playing with it. This is probably going to be the last time we offer this pricing in it this way. I think we're going to go to the end of March with this. But what we're doing, we have an orchestrated planning session. Basically, we'll go in there and make sure you're up to the proper tools release. All your I's are dotted, T's are crossed to actually get orchestrations working. That's a one-time event for just under $3,000. And then we've got the Orchestrator Managed Services, which is about 20 hours a week or 20 hours a month. I shouldn't say a week, 20 hours a month for $3,000. And it's a 3-year contract, but you can bail out after 90 days. It's not a big deal. If you find it's not for you, it's okay. You don't have to do that. But that, again, I think that is going back to standard pricing after April 1st. So just want to bring that to your attention. But that Orchestrator is quite Orchestrator Managed Service is quite nice. A lot of people that are using it are really getting a lot of good things out of that. We're also doing a UX1 special pricing. It's a one-day event where we'll come in and do a lot of the stuff that you saw Tom do or we've been doing over the last couple months. Actually in-house, we'll come and help you set up your stuff, do training with a group up to 10 people. We're doing that for like $24.95, so it's not too bad. It's a pretty good price. And again, I think this one's also going to go back to standard pricing in April. So so you got till the end of this month pretty much to do that. You could probably go a little longer if you want. Just saying, but you didn't hear that from me. Anyway, also I want to talk about some of the educational resources we have out there. We of course we do a lot of webcasts. You guys are on them now. You've seen some. If you don't get our newsletters, you should. It's pretty good stuff. We've got a resource center full of information. YouTube, a lot of the webinars, the webcasts we do are on YouTube, and we should also do some hands-on workshops. We were doing them on site. Hopefully we'll be doing them on site again in the next couple months. But currently right now we've got a really cool tool called ReadyTech that lets us get us about 15 or 20 people or students in to our lab, and we can actually monitor and work through and see their screens. It's very cool. So those workshops are really good. And if you have not signed into the GSI website, or someone in your group has, and you get notifications that there's webinars and stuff, you really should sign on. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. And I'm going to go off script, Tom. I'm going to actually bring up I'm going to bring my stuff over. Okay, we've got just so you know that all the stuff we're doing, a lot of the webinars, webcasts we send to YouTube, but all of them are captured on our website. So, if you go to resources and JD Edwards, you can go, into the resource center. Oops, let me try that again. The resource center, you have a choice of all these recorded webcasts that are out there. There's a ton of them. So you can go through, if you've got nothing better to do, you can spend a couple hours for each. Some of these things are an hour, some of them are 3 hours. So you can go through all these things and kind of learn some neat stuff. I mean, it's good stuff. So I just wanted to go off topic a little bit there and share that, because that's some really neat stuff. I don't go on there enough, and why should I, right? I'm in or doing stuff, but I go out there and I'm like, wow, there's some really cool stuff in here that, that we,
And to expand on that, Dan, clients, if you saw something today and you said, geez, it'd be nice if X number of people in the organization saw it, and you go back to your organization and there's interest, just let us know and we'll do a one-off webinar just for your company. right? And then, you'll get to ask questions and things like that. So GSI, we're more than willing to provide you information in whatever manner you feel it's most important to you,
And Tom, just so you know, we did get a request to do that very thing today. So you'll be hearing about that tomorrow. So someone has asked us to actually do
Yeah,
that.
thank you. Okay.
Just so you know. So let me go back here. Hey, how'd that go backwards? See, I'm having a hell of a time with it. I mean, darn it, heck of a time. All right. So also we have a website called erptalk.com. It's got a place where you can just add some questions. It's like a little chat board. And if you need to be on social media and need to get to GSI through any other means besides going to their website, we got a million ways. We're on Snapchat and not Snapchat. We're on Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. It's pretty fun. So a lot of stuff out there. Everywhere I go, I get GSI'd, so it's pretty funny. So we do have a couple of questions, and one of the questions from Kristen was, can you do more? Can you do a list of more than one value for each cat code in your query?
And the answer is yes, just like in a report where you have the Boolean logic where you can say greater than or equal to, or you can say in a list or between. And the other thing you can do is you could select the field multiple times. So the overall answer is yes.
Yep. So that's it. That's all the questions we had. We had one question. You did such a good job, and it was really good. I mean, you did a good job, Tom. I learned some stuff today I didn't know about on the financial side because that's not my gig, but it was good.
The important thing too, Dan, that I want to mention to people is this. I alluded to the fact that you and I have been in JD Edwards for years, more years than we want to admit to. And I'm going to tell you, I started with Edwards back in the late 80s. That credit collection process has not changed much in 30 years. So, the way you make it change is by utilizing some of these other UDOs and things of that nature. So when you look at JD Edwards, just don't look at an application. Look at it with all the other components and how you can blend things together. That's going to get you the most bang for your buck when you do that. So, Mr. Schulteis, thank you so much for doing this with me today. I appreciate it. Everybody else, stay safe, stay warm, and enjoy.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.